Hello guys, welcome to Visordown. My name is Alex, and right next to me we've got the KTM 1290 Super Adventure S. It's the road touring model and it's an absolute delight. LC8 engine, adaptive cruise control, electronic suspension. We'll dive all into that. I've had it for around about 3 weeks now and it's been an absolute blast, I've got to say. Headline is that it's an adaptive cruise control missile. So let's get into it. So the 2021 edition of the KTM Super Adventure S is their benchmark edition. You may have seen my other video on the Super Adventure R, which is their off-road adventure version with the knobblies and the off-road modes. And this is an absolute road missile, as I said. There's quite a few new bits on this. So there's new ergonomics, there's a new tank, lower seat, there's new plastics with updated bodywork. There's a shorter chassis, a new subframe, a longer swing arm. And all of these little bits sort of come together to make it handle brilliantly on the road. But then away from that as well, and sort of included, is the adaptive cruise control, which is right up front here. And you've got electronic suspension as well, and it's all pretty trick. The electronic suite on this is top notch, I've got to say. Of course, powering the KTM is the LC8 V-Twin 1301cc with 160 brake horsepower and around about 138 Newton meters of torque. Basically, you twist the throttle and this thing absolutely rips. It sounds beautiful and it goes for days. It just feels like at any speed, at any gear, twist the throttle and it opens up, starts singing to you, and you're gone. So all in all, KTM have really gone to town to update their previous model of the Super Adventure S and bring it into the 21st century, but of course we're already there anyway. But this is a fantastic bike, I've got to say. What I'm going to jump into first, and then we'll get on with the radar cruise and the electronic suspension, is the LC8 V-Twin. Now, it's not surprising that this bike is absolutely beastie. When you look at the marketing blurbs and stuff like that, they're talking about earth-twisting torque and they're talking about it being an absolute beast that's ready to race. Taglines for days. But it is true. I mean, you twist the throttle in this, as I say, and it opens up. Torque delivery is near enough instant. It's chain driven, of course, and it just sounds beautiful. It rides beautifully well. And on the road, it handles superbly. It feels really nimble. And for a bike that's 220 kilograms dry, they only list a dry weight. I don't know why they don't list a wet weight. It feels like it weighs, I don't know, 180 kilograms. It is a big bike. It's quite tall, of course. I'm 6'3", and the screen, when you raise it by 50mm, because you can adjust it on a little hand dial, it's near enough the same height as me, if you're talking the top point. But it handles really nicely, and it's very surprising what you can do on the road on this. In the right hands, this thing will eat up any bike on track, I reckon. Of course, it's a 1301cc motor, V-twin, liquid cooled, so it's not surprising. Torque is instant and it's so fun to play with. You've got a slipper clutch on this one, it's PASC, you can fiddle about with all of the rider modes and adjust all of the settings in there. Of course, the electronic suite helps on this one as well. You've got adaptive cruise control, naturally, as I've already mentioned at the front. You've got traction control, you've got cornering ABS, and the electronic suite on this one really does come in to help you. But if you adjust some of the rider modes, so you can go from like sort of road and street modes to race modes. There is an off-road mode on this one, but I suppose it would do it, to be honest. And you've also got the ability to then sort of fine-tune what you want. The electronic suspension is a 48mm WP Apex fork, and that's all adjusted there. You can put it on auto mode, you can put it on comfort mode or like a more sporty mode, and adjust from there what you want from the bike when you're ragging it about. So naturally, when I was riding across over to Motorcycle Live, which is around 150 miles there, 150 back, it was tipping it down. And you may have seen this on the social media platforms that we've got, so Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. It was having it, and this made it very easy. The radar cruise control really came in nicely to help me because, of course, naturally you need to be switched on, and you can set the follow distance, you can set the speed, of course, as the cruise control. And it really helped because it's a long ride and it was in pretty poor conditions. And I was really keen to see if the radar cruise would be set off by, you know, really heavy downpours or like some splashback from other cars and stuff like that. When you're going around corners, it didn't really seem to affect it at all, and it was very smart how it did it. I'm not that technological in terms of how the engineers have figured out if you're going around a corner, does it start pointing around for you? I don't know, but the radar is absolutely top notch. I've ridden on a few bikes with radar cruise control, and I'd comfortably say that this is up there as one of the best. The follow distances you can put really far away or really close. In the rain, I set it as a little bit further away, so I had that additional stopping time if I needed to hammer on the brakes. And I suppose if you're following a bike and you really want to be close up to them, I don't know why you'd want to be really close to someone, but you can set it to like exceptionally close, so you're sort of this far away. The electronic suspension, as I say, you can set into different modes, and I was fiddling about with it quite a lot as I was riding along because I had a lot of miles to sink. And it's really intuitive, the display. It's a 7-inch TFT. You can really start playing around with all of the modes, functions. You've got a little custom switch, so you can flick into a different rider mode quite easily. But then if you want to start delving into trip and other sort of features, some bikes have a button that you push and then it just flicks through menus, but on this one you have to press the OK button and then it opens a menu, and then you scroll down, you go into trip, and then you press right and you see trip 1, trip 2, and it all just seems a little bit fiddly. If you're looking at this as a tourer, it's got a 15,000 kilometre service interval, which I believe is like 9,800 miles off the top of my head, and that's quite big for a bike like this, but it's also, you know, quite good going. Of course, if you're looking to tour on one of these, you may be looking at pillion seats. The pillion on this one is really nice. The seat itself for the rider is 849 millimeters, and you can adjust it a little bit, so you can move it up and down a tad. So if you're quite short or got shorter legs, then you can make it a little bit shorter so you can touch the ground. Naturally, I'm quite tall, so for me, I fit on this beautifully. And this is really one bike, as well as like the Versys and the R, and just basically big adventure bikes, I fit on really well. Toad may struggle to get it on his tiptoes, and it does weigh quite a bit. I'm going to guess 230 kilograms wet, pure guess, but it's 220 dry. So if you start to topple this one, you're going to have a very strong foot to catch it. And if you topple it all the way over, you're going to have to know what you're doing to pick it back up. In any case, pillion seat looks very comfortable. I've not actually had a pillion on this one because no one wanted to come out of me on the back in the weather that we've had recently. This is literally the only day that's been quite nice, so be it. But you've got grab rails on there, and naturally for KTM, you've got to add on the accessories. So if you want the touring sort of panniers, top box, you've got to start adding on those kits, and you can probably add 1,000, 2,000 pounds in extras quite easily to do this. One thing I didn't actually mention is on my ride to Motorcycle Live, it was tipping it down, did mention that, but there was no heated grips. There's no heated grips installed. So I was sat there trying to turn on the heated grips, and it just said, no, 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 no. KTM has set this one as like a base model bike, and you can then customize it and build it up to sort of higher spec. Some motorcycle manufacturers will look at doing a base model and then give you a touring edition and a sports edition and all this, where they throw in those accessories and maybe give you a little bit of a discount. But in any case, the argument is, do you want to have a base model bike that is always the same and then you can build what you want on there, or would you prefer to have like a Super Adventure S touring model with the panniers, top box, heated grips, heated seat, all of that fun stuff chucked in so you feel like you're getting a deal? Topic for you. There's a 23 litre tank on this one, and you can get around about 50 miles per gallon if you're doing sensibly. I got it up to 55 when I was just cruising, because 6th gear is an overdrive, so the revs drop really low, and you just sat there nice and smooth. Engine is just being very tame, and you're just chilling, really chilling. Put it in rain mode and on a 23 litre tank, I reckon you can probably stretch to around 230 miles. I got to 220 at a real push, but that's when I completely filled up and was on the motorway already, pushed it around, and yeah, it was all good. But 200 miles I say is a safe bet, a very, very safe bet. Just to finish off with the suspension, of course, it's the 48mm fork. You can adjust it to the comfort and sport settings if you want to, or auto, and it just does it all for you. And I found it very plush to ride. Mid-corner, it handles beautifully. Already said all this, but just as a accoutrement. Brakes are provided by Brembo. You've got 320mm twin disc up front, 267mm at the rear. It's all got Bosch ABS on there, so cornering ABS. And the ABS is very good on this. If you really squeeze down in bad weather, you feel it sort of kicking in, but it doesn't feel like it's like a big jump between the brakes. It just kicks in nicely, and you can come to a real nice controlled stop. Initial application of the brakes, it's a little bit soft, so you've got to give them a real firm squeeze if you want to stop quickly. And there was a few times when I was riding on the motorway in weather that I really couldn't see, and I was thinking, need to stop, oh, need to stop, and had to pull in the brake. So did it well. I'm still here, happy days. In terms of rider comfort, the seat's very comfortable. You've got a little radiator thing that sort of radiates a bit of cool air to you if you're riding in summer months, but in terms of weather protection, pretty good. I was in the downpour, so I was soaking anyway, but when I was riding along, I didn't feel like I was in the shower. Happy days. But all in, the KTM 1290 Super Adventure S is quite literally a radar-controlled cruise missile. It's very, very nimble, it's very handy, but it's got torque and power for days. I mean, this bike has really surprised me because, as you may know, I've had the Kawasaki Versys 1000 S Grand Tourer, and that's got, of course, the electronic suspension. It has got heated grips as standard, But yeah, these bikes would go head to head quite nicely, and it's very difficult to pick which one I'd go for. I feel like the KTM is a little bit more of a hooligan's tool, and you can really rev it up and just have a lot of fun on it. And that's not to say you can't do that on the Versys, because that's a very adept bike. But I feel like the inline 4 on the Versys means that it can be a little bit more smoother, maybe a little bit more softer, and it's a little bit easier to ride in terms of it's an inline 4, so you know what you're getting is a very smooth power delivery. This one's very smooth as well, but it just feels like if you're hammering on the power, it's just going to bark at you and really open up the V-Twin. So it depends if you prefer a V-Twin or an inline 4. I do love the Versys, but this one has definitely turned my eye. So as a verdict, this is certainly worth giving a test ride if you're interested. KTM offer this one in black and orange. As you can see, it's the classic KTM orange, and I feel like it's a crime to not go for KTM orange unless you like a bit of a darker colour with orange highlights. I'd definitely go the orange. As a real quick summary for positives, negatives and the verdict, my positives are the radar cruise control is very, very good. It's a big tour, it's very comfortable to ride long distance, but it's still got that hooligan nature, so that's sort of 2 points in terms of the long distance you can get in the fuel tank and the fact that it's very comfortable to ride. But then if you turn the screen down, put it in sports mode, you can really start opening up the road and carving it out. It's great fun. Negatives, it lacks accessories from standard. I feel like heated grips should be a very good option. You can always just get bigger gloves or heated gloves or something like that, but I love heated grips. It just wins me over instantly. The menus can be a tad confusing, but you get used to them, and there is backlit buttons, so that's always nice. But to dive into the menus, you have to start pressing buttons and sort of taking your attention away from the road. And last but least, I mean, there's not really too much I really dislike about this bike, but some may say that the looks are a little bit funny. I did put it on social media for us, for Visordown, and a lot of people are saying that the face is an absolute munter. I don't mind it, to be honest with you, and it looks quite nice. You've got cornering lights in there, LED daytime running lights, it's all nice, but some people are very specific about their style and don't like this. So that's really one of your guys' points as the Visordown viewers and readership. But in any case, thank you so much for watching this bike review from Alex at Visordown. The KTM 1290 Super Adventure S full written review is going to be on site, so keep an eye out for that one and have a little search if you want some in-depth specs and features and stuff like that. But in any case, give a comment down below. Is this the best tourer for you? Would you go for it? Do you love a KTM that's got a V-Twin in there? Let me know in the comments, like the video, subscribe, and I will see you on the next one. Ciao.